Support this podcast via our Patreon and get more writerly goodness. Visit patreon.com/nanocast to join up.
Welcome to NaNoWriMo Every Month. My name is J. Daniel Sawyer. I'm the author of some 20 books, 34 short stories, and numerous articles and other things, and I am your guide on this journey to use NaNoWriMo to level up to professional output levels. Welcome to The Questions, Episode 23. Sgt Mike asks, I just re-listened to your episode on the dreaded cliché. What if you're unaware of all of them? How do you spot them and thus avoid them? This is where a really good first reader comes in, or a couple of beta readers, or whoever it is that you give your stories to have them run over it. There's two different kinds of beta readers, and early on you want both kinds. Later on, you can usually dispense with one of them. One of them is your copy editor, and your copy editor basically finds the typos, and maybe continuity editing. I talked about this in the episode on editing. The other type, and they can be the same person, the other type tells you if the story has gone off the rails. And these can be important early on if you don't have a well-developed understanding of how story works. The two things you basically want them to do are to note where they got lost, either lost in a passage or where they wanted to quit reading the story. And the other thing is where they started to see the rails. When your story is cliched, it's on rails, and you're basically retelling stories that you've already read instead of doing something original. Now, as I talked about back early on in the cast, there's degrees of originality, right? But I kid you not, I have beta read manuscripts where someone has reiterated beat for beat another story, a scene from another story, or a scene from a movie, and hasn't realized that's what they're doing. That story is just something they loved so much that they accidentally retold it with different words and different characters. That's not something you want to do. Clichés are clichés because they're obvious, because everybody's done them and they've been done to death. If you're not feeling the cliché and you're not worried about it, don't worry about it. Over time, you'll find a good reader or two who you can trust to tell you if something has just really gone off the rails or it seems like you're suddenly copying something. And that's when you want to pay attention. Otherwise, you've got enough to worry about learning how to write and tell a good story. The last thing you want to do is pile more worries onto your head. Don't worry about this while you're writing. Only worry about it if you get something back from a beta reader telling you, hey, Mike, this is kind of, then it might be worth looking at. The other way to learn the clichés is something you ought to be doing anyway, which is voraciously consuming fiction, particularly fiction by people who are really, really good. Read as much as you can. You'll start to notice what the common things are, the things that you've seen before, the things that have been done to death, and you'll start to avoid them as a reader. And the things that you're avoiding as a reader, those are the things that you're going to wind up avoiding as a writer, naturally. Again, not something to worry about. So, clichés, don't worry about them too much. In one sense, everything is a cliché. In another sense, there's so much room in the squishy middle. Don't worry about it. Worry about telling the best story you can, in the best way that you can, and then moving on and doing it better next time. And I'll see you tomorrow. NaNoWriMo Every Month is written and presented by J. Daniel Sawyer and produced by Artistic Whispers Productions. Visit our website at NaNoWriMoEveryMonth.com and leave a tip in the tip jar to support this podcast. NaNoWriMo Every Month is copyright 2015 by J. Daniel Sawyer and Artistic Whispers Productions and released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license.